everyone, and thank you for joining me today. I am delighted to be the host of our Global International Women's Day 2025 panel discussion, and I'm joined by some amazing female leaders from all around the world in Logicalis. So, joining us today, we have leaders from South Africa, from Hong Kong, from Ireland, from Australia, from the US, and from Brazil in Latin America. So really excited to showcase a wealth of our female talent and get their perspectives on the theme of International Women's Day for 2025, which is all around women and girls, rights, equality, empowerment. And these conversations are more important today in the current climate than ever before. So I'm really excited to get into the discussion with some of our leaders from around the world. So first, let me introduce the speakers. We have Lindy Ferreira, who is the General Manager of South Africa, Logicalis. We have Lisa Forty, who is the Country Manager for Logicalis Australia. We have Mairead Malone, the Country Manager for Ireland. We have Denise Chow, the Country Manager for Logicalis Hong Kong. And we have Luciana De Peri, Chief People Officer for LATAM, and Aaron Marchese, the Director of Architectures for Logicalis US. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us today on this really important discussion. So, Lindy, I might start with you, if that's okay, joining us from South Africa. What are some of the barriers within the tech industry for women today, and what, as leaders, can we do to overcome those?
Hi, Kat. Thanks for the opportunity. For you guys to really understand, what is happening in the south of Africa, um, we are struggling to get our young girls through schooling, let alone exposing them to the IT industry. I mean, some of these women in the rural areas doesn't even have access to sanitary products, which means they stay out of school 1 week a month. And that is really third world challenges that we are addressing here in South Africa. So we as an organization, Logicalis, actually gets involved with these individuals, providing them with the necessary products that enable them to actually participate in schooling, finish schooling. And we also, part of our social responsibility, create labs in schools for these girls to be able to upskill themselves and make sure that they are ready, should they be lucky enough to get to that tertiary education, that they have the means and the knowledge to actually, take it further. So it's more than just once they arrive in the corporate environment, it's actually helping them through that phase before even getting into employment. Once they've been employed, there's still systemic problems and barriers that we need to get through. And I do believe most of those are being unconscious bias. I would like to believe that through all the hardships that South Africa's gone through with apartheid, and the employment equity journey that we're on and the BE journey we're on, that everyone is really educated about what we need to do in order to address the previously disadvantaged, be it females, be it people of color. So I would like to believe that it's unconscious bias and that people are doing that because they're promoting people that are closer to their demographic and what they are all about. So it is really changing that and implement a structured hiring panel with diverse representation of both females and people of color to make sure that we use standardized evaluation criteria when we promote people or when we employ people. In addition to that, I think there's a lack of really good female mentorship in this country. So people are looking for those women that are in positions of leaderships to put up their hands and spend some time with these individuals that needs to go on this journey to be empowered and to be part of a new female leadership inside the ICT environment. And the last thing that I think seems to be a challenge in South Africa is the work-life balance. It's very easy for a CEO of organization to get his wife to stay at home and look after the children. But for women in powerful positions, it's not always that easy. So they need to balance flexible work policies with looking after, their families. So it really is a bit of a challenge. Again, hybrid work, and thanks to COVID, that is reality for most people, can support that. And parental leave policies needs to be probably revised to include both genders equally, and to provide childcare assistance programs where needed. So there's still a lot that can be done really in this space to empower future leaders and future people that is looking at the ICT industry as a future employment option for them.
That's amazing. Thanks, Lindy. And you covered such a kind of broad range of barriers there that kind of women are facing. And in your part of the world, particularly, as I'm sure in other parts of the world, really making sure that young girls can actually complete their education and get the basic needs met before they go on to further education, to look at STEM. And then those opportunities in the workplace, that need for flexibility is so important. I can particularly relate to the whole childcare and needing flexible working arrangements when my child was very young, and trying to show up and compete in an environment that is not designed necessarily for women to thrive, with those kind of rules and regulations. But Lisa, I'd love to go to you now. So, building on what Lindy was talking about there, how do you think we can identify and address the gender bias towards women or away from women when recruiting, retaining, and developing women in the workforce?
So, Kat, I might break that answer into two. Firstly, recruiting. So, recruiting women into IT remains a really significant challenge. While we all recognise the value of gender diversity in driving innovation, collaboration, and business success, the reality is that the talent pipeline, is just not balanced. So, for an example, in one of my own recruitment processes, I made a deliberate decision to try and hire a female to bring more diversity and balance into the team. In total, I received 39 resumes, and only one was from a female candidate. So, when the talent pool itself lacks diversity, hiring women becomes an uphill battle. And so I think to truly address the representation challenge, I believe we really must start at the grassroots level. Young women need exposure to IT careers before they enter the workforce, and unfortunately, the statistics are really stark. Girls' confidence in STEM subjects is generally lower than boys and declines with age. Some all girls schools don't even offer STEM as a subject. Girls make up only 25% of Year 12 enrolments in IT, physics, and engineering here in Australia, while women only account for 37% of university STEM enrolments, but just 17% in vocational STEM pathways. And then only 15% of STEM qualified jobs are held by women. So this is why I really believe early intervention and role modelling are critical. I'm personally involved in initiatives that bring IT professionals into schools to showcase the breadth of career opportunities available in technology. It doesn't just have to be in software development. It can be in sales and marketing and in finance. Representation matters. And if girls don't see women thriving in IT, they may not ever envision themselves in these roles. At Logicalis here in Australia, we also work closely with grad girls. This is a fantastic not-for-profit that really helps bridge the gap between education and employment for young women in STEM. Through this program, we've successfully hired 2 female grads who have since progressed to internships. And I think programs like these are vital because they build confidence in these participants. They foster a really strong sense of community among young women entering IT. They also help these individuals connect with organisations that have a strong DEI commitment, showing them what a supportive workplace really looks like. And they also provide, which I think is amazing, the practical tools such as LinkedIn profiles, resume coaching, and networking opportunities with peers, sponsors, and the women for STEM and community. So I think that will starting there will really help bring that talent pool up. And then on to retention and leadership. So while hiring women is one challenge, retaining and advancing them into leadership is just as critical. The reality is that many women in IT leave mid-career due to a lack of career progression, inclusive leadership, or perhaps even workplace flexibility. If we're really serious about gender diversity, we must create pathways that allow women to thrive at every stage of their career. So at Logicalis, Australia, this means for us sponsorship and mentorship. So women need access to strong mentors and sponsors who actively advocate for their career growth. And having role models in leadership makes, I think, a tangible difference. A clear leadership or career progression. So transparency in promotions, leadership pathways, and succession planning ensures that women see opportunities to advance. Flexible work models, like we were talking about, many women juggle family and career responsibilities, which offer by offering flexibility without penalising career growth, I think is key to retaining top talent. And then leadership development programs. We are very lucky at Logicalis to have an amazing leadership program, and that targets leadership training for women, which helps bridge the gap between that mid-level management and executive roles. So I think retention and leadership progression require intentional effort across the organisation. If we hire women but don't support their growth, we lose the very diversity that we've worked so hard to build. Creating an environment where women not only enter IT but stay, lead and influence is how I think we can create real change.
Absolutely. And I love, well, it was an interesting reflection there about, when the pipeline of women kind of entering into your organization or available to enter into your organization is so narrow to begin with, you really, if you get some good ones, need to nurture and develop the career of those that join the organization, because we're still, I think it's 75-25 or 70-30 in terms of you know the gender kind of mix in most ICT, most organizations around the world, but ICT particularly. Thank you, Lisa, for that really thoughtful response. Denise, I'd love to come to you now. So, similar question to Lisa, but how do you personally within Hong Kong really make sure that the recruitment, retention, and development of women in IT in your organization? And I know you've got some fantastic ones over there, as I just spent some time there last week.
Yeah. Yes, thanks, Kat. Actually, I think I'm totally agree with Lisa. I think actually in Hong Kong, we also experienced a similar challenge for recruiting and also retaining the female ICT specialists in this industry as well. I think actually for Logicalis Hong Kong, during the recruitment process, language in job posting has to be reviewed to ensure they are inclusive and free from gender bias terms. I think this is very important because I think historically many people would think that ICT is a male industry, and so we can also see from the market that female sales or female technical is so rare in the market right now. And so I think recruiting the suitable and the skillable female sales or a technical guy in the industry is very critical and very important in Hong Kong as well. And from the retaining and the development perspective, we also promote the understanding of importance of diversity in our workplace as well. And so we always have some activities in order to have team building to make sure that there is no gender bias between female and male, so that we can have a one good atmosphere so that we can work along with each other in the same organization. We also encourage open discussions about any challenges, including gender, within the organization as well. There is also regular staff survey to every employee so that they can express their view in another means. Throughout the survey, we can solicit feedback from employees in different aspects, like the leadership, like the culture, like the diversity and inclusion, etc. This can also help us to better understand and work on a future plan regarding for the resources planning, especially on the gender diversity as well. And so by systematically identifying and addressing biases, we can create a more equitable environment that can support the recruitment, retention, and also development of women in Logicalis Hong Kong as well. I think there is two good things in Logicalis right now in Hong Kong is that actually from the training program, we have Udemy, globally deployed right now, so that no matter if male or female colleagues, they can enjoy and undergoing different training online in the Udemy, so that they can enrich their skill set, they can improve the areas that they want to develop. And so this is a very good platform for Logicalis staff, no matter it's male or female, in order to further develop their skill set. And so I think this is very important for the career development for the staff. And another thing is, as mentioned by Lisa, hybrid work model is very good in Logicalis as well. This can also protect the interests of the female staff, so that they can balance their life amongst family and also their work, and so that they can be focused on their work, on delivering the committed outcome as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's a really holistic approach, from training, from making sure, you talked a lot about inclusion and making sure, regardless male or female, that they feel really part of the Logicalis Hong Kong team, and that there's lots of opportunities there to grow and develop their career. That's great. Thanks, Denise. So a bit of a curly one. I'm sure most of us have been in the tech industry for 20 plus years. So I'm sure everybody around this room has faced some form of, gender bias or interesting stories from being a female in IT. Does anybody have anything that they'd be comfortable in sharing, or experiences around that area that might resonate with anybody watching today?
All good, Kat. Look, I feel incredibly fortunate that I haven't personally faced significant career roadblocks due to gender bias. However, I know that's not the case for everyone. And I've witnessed firsthand how bias, both overt and subtle, has affected others around me. But that said, I have encountered misogynistic behavior at times. But I think also because I haven't been clouded by previous bad experiences around bias, I've often felt empowered to either ignore it and rise above it. But I fully recognize that not everyone has the same experience. And for many, these challenges can be really deeply personal and exhausting. This is why I believe it's so important to create environments where people feel supported, valued, and able to call out bias without fear of repercussions.
Love that, Lisa. And yeah, I think feeling empowered, I think, which is one of the themes of IWD for 2025, empowerment, makes a huge difference if you have the right role models around you and you've observed, senior women going before, and to know how to handle some of that behavior, because it does come up. And I think it will continue to, given the landscape that we're in kind of at the moment. But Mairead, I'd love to go to you next. What's your vision for the future of women in technology, in the UK and Ireland? And what steps should we start taking today to get there?
Hi, Cass. Good morning. Thank you. So for me, I think, if we can be in a world where women are equally represented and recognized as leaders and decision makers, that's the future we want. Gender equality will be the norm, not the exception. Women will have equal opportunities in every area of tech, be it in AI, security, sales, software development, leadership, whatever that might be. And in an ideal world, we won't need these conversations anymore, because it'll just be happening. But I think we've all touched on the fact that obviously this isn't a reality. And really the steps I think that need to be taken are around early education and exposure. I think many of the women here today have talked about that. So it's encouraging young girls to explore tech through school programs like we've talked about, STEM, boot camps, mentorship initiatives, and really normalizing tech careers at an early stage really helps to break these stereotypes. Because I think I certainly don't remember these being conversations when I was growing up. As we've all said, it was very much a male dominated environment. And we've also talked about supportive work environments, ensuring that it is an inclusive culture that we're in, implementing policies about supporting work-life balance and fair hiring practices. And I think an area that's really worked for me over time, over the years, has been strong networks and mentorships, building supportive communities, being part of mentorship programs that help women navigate challenges and gain confidence and advance their careers. For me, this area has been really helpful. One, to do it alone helps to build confidence, and also it helps you to share your experiences with others, because you might be talking to other women who'll say, oh, this has happened to me. And they'll go, oh, that happened to me too. I didn't think that, well, I thought that was okay for that to happen. And I think that really helps you to navigate how best to handle these things when it does pop up, and give you the confidence to say, I'm actually not happy with that. This is what we need to do, or this is what I would like to do. And I think we've talked about leadership and visibility, having more women in leadership roles. This will inspire future generations. And as a leader myself, I feel I have responsibilities to put myself out there, being involved in days like today, speaking at events or in press. We're increasing visibility. Whether it's something you like to do or not, I think we all have a responsibility to do that. And obviously equal pay and equal opportunities, addressing the pay gap, ensuring women receive equal access to funding, resourcing. And I think what a lot of people talked about as well is that growth opportunities, creating a growth path for the future, so that when we do invest in these women, they stay with us and they grow with us.
Absolutely, Mairead. I think you've hit on two things there that are really important, and certainly were pivotal in my career, which is mentorship, and then just observing other leaders, other female leaders, walk the walk and talk the talk, and just kind of looking at that, because the traditional male model of leadership that I grew up with, I joined the tech industry in the early 2000s. It was never something that I was going to be able to emulate, but seeing people and, women like me, I thought that's something that I could be, like, that's something that I could aspire to, versus, the unattainable, like, I think the example Lindy gave, CEO with the wife at home who can raise the kids, like, that's just not the reality for us. So yeah, really, really great response there. Luciana, I'd love to go to you now, kind of building on Mairead's theme. How do you think Logicalis can support and mentor young women and girls into leadership and careers in STEM?
First of all, thanks for having me here. So answering your question, I really believe that we as Logicalis have a great opportunity to support and mentor young women and girls who want to step into leadership, business, and tech careers. I think there are a few key ways that we can make a real impact. First one is mentoring and networking. We can set up mentoring programs where experienced female leaders at Logicalis can guide and inspire young women, helping them with career advice, skills building, and leadership coaching. Also, creating a network opportunities is key, connecting young women with tech professionals so they can gain confidence and access career opportunities. Another key way is education and skills development. So partnering with schools, universities, and organizations to promote tech education through workshops, scholarships, and internships is a great way to encourage more young girls to get into tech. Offering training programs that focus on both technical and leadership skills can help prepare them for decision-making roles in the industry. An example of this is the Level Up program that we have here in Latin America. Last year, we trained women in technology to leverage technical and behavioral development, contributing to better employment opportunities and effectively improve social inequality. A third way that I believe is key is building an inclusive workplace and career growth. So it's important to create a workplace culture that truly supports women in tech, ensuring equal opportunities for growth and leadership. Initiatives like sponsorship programs, leadership training can really help women take their careers to the next level. The fourth, but not least key action is community engagement and advocacy. We can inspire more young girls to pursue tech careers by sharing success stories of women who have made it in leadership roles here at Logicalis. Advocating for policies that support gender diversity in tech, both within Logicalis and across the industry, can also drive lasting change. So I truly believe that by focusing on these initiatives, Logicalis can help young women and girls become future leaders in tech, in business, and we can also shape a more diverse and innovative Logicalis, and as well a more diverse and innovative industry.
Thank you so much, Luciana. Really love to hear the work that you guys are doing in LATAM. And I know that you've been really instrumental in a lot of programs to bring women and girls into the tech sector. Aaron, I'd love to end with you as our male ally in the group. How can male colleagues act as allies in promoting gender equality and creating an inclusive environment?
Yeah, for me, being an ally to the women of Logicalis and really all colleagues inside of Logicalis, it's not about a grand gesture, but instead it's about creating an environment, fostering an environment where folks can show up, feel valued, feel respected, and of course, feel heard. And there's a few ways that I try to actively do that. And I think number one, for me, the most important is listening. Right. I think it's important. We all have different world experiences. We've grown up in different places. We've got different things on our minds, different to-do lists. Everything's different, right? So it's important to empathetically listen and understand, not be dismissive, not ignore and say you've got your own problems, whatever, but instead to genuinely try to understand how that person sees the world. And I think second, it's important to use your voice when the time's right. We've all been in situations where we've seen in meetings or on conference calls, perhaps someone starts to offer an opinion or suggest something, and then someone else says, "No, no, we've heard enough, or we're running out of time." I think it's important for us as allies to recognize that, number one, but then also step up and give that person an opportunity, make them feel valued, make them feel heard, and make them feel respected. Third, I think across the board, we have to keep an open eye out for equal opportunities, whether that be in terms of project assignments, leadership development, or maybe even OEM training or some other training. We have to make sure that we're being fair and that we're being balanced and being strong in our allyship. I think in the end, it's not about perfection for me, but it's about being aware of and demonstrating some of these behaviors that I've mentioned every day, consciously showing up, consciously being aware of those things, consciously trying to keep an eye on those things, consciously trying to be fair. And through that, over time, you create an environment. The more of us that do that, the more folks that do that, you create an environment where people genuinely do feel respected, valued, and heard. And I think most importantly, they feel as though they belong.
Aaron, thank you so much for such a heartfelt response and for being the only male representative on the panel. You are a true ally to the women in your orbit and really appreciate what you're doing locally in the US to continue that inclusive environment for women. So really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your perspectives. It has been a really insightful discussion. I absolutely look forward to these discussions around International Women's Day because no matter how many times we hear these messages, we need to keep hearing them to shift the dial in our industry. And I think each of you from your corner of the world has touched on really important issues that women are still facing today and that we hope will evolve as we go into empowering women, all women and girls in the theme of International Women's Day 2025. So thank you all for joining me today. Have a great day.